Hi everyone, welcome back. This is Adam. I hope you're excited to be here because I certainly am. In this video, we're going to learn how to write some text description around the major strengths and weaknesses that we identified for our athletes, and we're going to display them on our dashboard. We can get pretty complex with this, but I want to make it very, very simple. And yeah, I don't want to overwhelm you. So we can start writing our text logic, and all we have to do is just write text in here that describes what this is for the person and where they fit. And you might want to think about what you want to say. So I'm thinking that this is the person's biggest strength. Let's say I'm going to write the text here. I'll say this player, which will be the player's name. This player's biggest strength is, and I'll just say body fat. This player is in the XX percentile. And for the next one, I might say another strength for this player is, I'll say CMJ average. I'll say they are in the XX percentile. So let's just say that those are the two things that we want to say, more or less. Let's turn that into text, or dynamic text, right? Because this is going to be based on whatever the strength is, and the percentile, and the person's name. One of the caveats here that I want to mention, because I don't want to overcomplicate it and overwhelm you, is that when we do this, we're going to use a TH in our text for the percentiles, but you could easily pretty much assign, so the TH as being like the 100th, the 90th, 95th, but there are going to be instances like first, second, third, 33rd, where RD and ST and ND are appropriate, and we're not going to go over that. So you could easily assign, maybe not easily, but you could assign those certain digits to have different endings to them when you're talking in this text, but again, we're not going to consider that. So to start, this player, where do we get this player from, or the player's name? Well, we get it from up here. This is, oops, I don't know why it's not. This is the player that we have selected, and that's who we're interested in. So to start off this text logic, we'll say equals, and we'll select the player's name, which is right here, and we'll just lock it in so that I can copy and paste it around. And now the way that we segregate cell locations from normal text is with ampersands. So we got a cell location, that's the player's name, ampersand, quote, single quote S, right? Because we said this player's biggest strength, and it's cool that we can kind of see it being written out up here so we know what we're doing. Biggest strength is, and then we can do a space, quote, ampersand, right? So we're segregating the cell location with the text with another cell location, which is body fat. I'm going to lock that in. And if we just left that as is, now we'll have a sentence, more or less says, this person's biggest strength is body fat. But that's not all, right? We'll go ampersand, quote, period, space, quote. It's going to look really ugly, but that's so we add a period at the end. And then what else do we want to say? I'll say this player, or the player's name, is in whatever percentile this is. So let's take A4 again. So we have the period, and now we have an ampersand, and A4 again, the player's name, another ampersand, quote, space. And it's weird spacing, right? Because we want to do spaces before and after the player's name so it looks like a sentence. And so now we're saying a new sentence, Jason Ratham, or the player, is in the, and space, quote, ampersand, because we're ending that little text string in this percentile right here. So we can, hey, just say 1 or whatever this number is, and quote th percentile, period, and end the quote. This is not going to come out the way that we want it, but I'll show you how to adjust for it, and then we can pretty much copy and paste this around. So let's look at this whole sentence. So it says this person's biggest strength is body. Jason Ratham's biggest strength is body fat. Jason Ratham is in the 11th or the 1th percentile. Now what we have to do here is we need to multiply this by 100. We don't necessarily want to multiply it by 100 here, although we could. We want to do it here. So what we can do is we can just multiply by 100 and click enter. And there we have it. They're in the 100th percentile. Now, we can work on the next sentence. Another strength for this player, and we can pretty much copy what we have. So why don't we just copy everything that we have and paste it here, and we'll just switch some things around. So we can start off with quotes, and we'll say another strength for, and we'll do a quote and then the ampersand, right, for that person. And then we'll just change this text here. And space is space. And instead of T37, we'll go T38 because it needs to be CMJ average. And let's just end that here for now so that we can see what it looks like. So we have another strength for Jason Ratham is CMJ average. And then we have this semicolon, and then they are in the whatever percentile they're in. So we can add that in now. Instead of a period, we have this semicolon. Say they are in the space, quote, ampersand, this times 100, ampersand, quote, th, space, percentile, period, and close the quote, click enter, and there we go. Now, if one thing that I should have done on the first one, and that we can do here, is if we don't want decimals in this percentile, we can use a function called text in here. And what text does is it pretty much reformats numbers. So right here, before the S38, we're going to go text, open parenthesis, and the number is going to be this number that we have, which is the percentile multiplied by 100, comma, and the format is going to be quote 0, quote, and close the parenthesis and click enter. And now we just have the 98th percentile. And we should do the same thing here for this 100th percentile. So we can do text, open parenthesis, S37 times 100 is the number, comma, 0, or quote 0, quote, which just means no decimal places, one number, and close the parenthesis and click enter. And we still have the 100th percentile. Sorry, I know I'm moving a little bit fast here. It's because I just want to get this done. So now that we've done this twice, we can, maybe we do the same thing. We do this exact same thing for the weaknesses, but we exchange strength for weakness. So I'll copy this and paste it down. And instead of looking at T37, where we see body fat, let's go to T40, where we see their biggest weakness. And we can just change strength to weakness. And we can do the same thing for this one. So we copy it, paste it down here. Instead of strength, we'll change strength to weakness. And we're looking at T38, which is CMJ average, which is a strength. And we want to look at their second biggest weakness, which is right here, T41. So we'll change T38 to T41 and click enter. And now we have, I'll remove this, now we have a couple of little bits of text. If we wanted to tie these two things together, we could use a function called concatenate if we wanted to. So let's do that. Let's concatenate these things, and I'm just going to move these things down actually so that we can have one full big piece of text in between each. Well, equals concatenate, as it says, it appends strings together or to one another. Our first string that we want to add is our first sentence, comma, and the second string that we want to add is our second sentence. We could do a space in between, or we can add a space to the second sentence. Maybe, I mean, it doesn't matter. So let's just pick the second sentence and close the parenthesis and click enter. And we can copy that and paste it beneath the weaknesses. And now let's just add a quick space in front of the second weakness and the second strength, since they're both in the same sentence, because we want to have a space after the period when we combine them. Now we have these two values. So now let's put it on our testing dashboard. Here's our dashboard. There's space down here. Again, I probably would have just put something small here, but I didn't anticipate this chart being in here. So let's figure out how to organize this little area beneath. Sorry, I just had a minor internet issue, I hope. But let's put this right underneath here. So I'm just going to highlight all this stuff, 2 rows of it, and merge it. And what will we call this section? We'll call it performance. Let's call it performance facilitators and defenders. I actually like that. I got it from my friend Andy Galpin, who talks about defenders for program design, and they're the things that are preventing you from achieving your goals, and identifying those are part of a good needs analysis. And I like the term, so I'm going to use defenders. And now let's start kind of formatting this a little bit. So I think what I'll do is I'll create a couple of boxes here. Maybe here's a box, and we'll call these the facilitators. And copy that, paste it here. These will be the defenders. With a little bit of space in between. And what I kind of want to do here is I want to add some icons. Let's make these bold. And actually, maybe I'll show you how to do that. That'll be fun. I'm going to highlight the facilitators in green. Oops. Or the box in green. And the defenders, maybe I'll just do in this gray color for now. Oops, I didn't mean to do pink. And here's where we will list what those things are. So I'm going to merge these cells. And our biggest facilitator equals, let's go to our chart data, or our biggest strength is right here, body fat. And we can copy it, paste it down. Our biggest defender, let's merge these two things together. We'll go equals, go to our chart data, this, our biggest weakness, number 1 weakness. And we can copy that, paste it down. Now we have these things, and I'll just vertically and horizontally align them. And now here's a big spot where we can put some text about them. So I'm going to merge all that stuff together and go equals, go to our chart data, and get our sentences, which are right here. This is our combined sentence. And then we can format, maybe we can wrap the text and vertically align it. Then we should be able to copy this formula and paste it down, and then go equals and get our weakness sentences. Let's go to our chart data, get our weakness sentences that we made, and click enter. Now we have our weakness sentences. One thing that I want to do here is I want to add a couple of icons. I think icons would be pretty cool here because we have some space to work with. So I'm going to merge these two cells together. We can merge these two cells together. We'll put icons in these boxes. But one thing, so you can put any picture you want in these boxes. When I do icons, I like them to be colored sometimes I like them to be colored on par with what they're going with. So in this case, I might want one icon, the defender's icon, to be gray, and the facilitator's icon to be green. And I'll show you how to do that really quickly in PowerPoint. So I'm going to open up PowerPoint on my computer and go to blank presentation. Fine. I'm just going to remove this stuff. I'll remove the grid lines so we don't get confused. And if we go to insert, we can insert an icon. Let me think. So for facilitators or for strengths, maybe a flex would be good. So I'm going to type in flex. Oh, nothing there. Maybe there's arm. Okay. Oh, and actually defenders. This is perfect. I can use both of these. So we'll have a flexing arm and a shield, I guess. So now we have two icons, and I'm going to color them. So I'll go to graphics fill for one of them, and I'll make it that green, which I don't have here. So I'm going to go back to my sheet and figure out what color green this is by going to our fill colors and go to the plus button. And here's the color code that I want. Go back to the PowerPoint, and if I go to graphics fill, we can go to more fill colors, go to custom, and put in our hex code that we want, and click OK. Now I have an icon that's green. Go back in here to our sheet. I'm going to figure out the color of this guy. Let's go to the plus button, and it's this 434343. We'll copy that. Go back to the PowerPoint. Go to the icon. Go to shape fill, and maybe go to more fill colors. Go to custom, and we can paste in the hex code that we have there. Click OK. Now we have these two icons. Now what we can do is we can save these icons as pictures. So I'll right click and save it as a picture on my computer somewhere. I guess it's going to be in this PC. It'll just be called picture 1. Not an SVG or scalable vector graphics format. We're going to want it as either a PNG or JPEG. I like PNG. Do PNG, picture 1. And I'll save this one also. So I'll right click, save as a picture, and I'll make it PNG again. And this will be picture 2. Now that we have pictures and we've already added images into cells before, we can go back to our sheet. I'm going to click on this box next to the facilitators, go to Insert, Image, Image in Cell, and I'll upload it from my computer where I saved it. So I'll browse, I believe it was in this PC, right? Pictures. And here, this picture 1. Perfect. And now I'll do the same thing next to the defenders. We go to Insert, Image, Image in Cell, and we'll browse, see what we want, and get this picture too. And now let's just horizontally align, vertically align. Maybe we make the text bigger here. Maybe the text can be a little bit bigger. It's 14. And what just happened here? How do I... okay, so I'm thinking about something now. I want to unmerge these cells and drag this over a little bit because I want a little bit of space here. Maybe I move it over twice actually. And maybe I do the same thing here. I want to move it over. And still do the same thing that I did before. Merge it and make sure that it all fits. But here maybe I want to just have something that says notes. I'll copy this and paste it in here and just say notes. But I don't want it to be green. I just want it to be maybe like black text. And we can copy that and paste it down in this little notes area. Maybe we'll bold all these metrics. These two will be colored green to match up with everything else. These two will be colored, I believe it was this color, the same color as background there. Sorry to jump in and interrupt this video. It'll only take a couple of minutes, and feel free to skip over it if you need to. I'm going to show you how to change the TH, well, a way to change the TH in all these percentiles. Like I lied earlier, I said I wasn't going to show you how to do this, and here I am. where we have 92 TH, 92nd percentile, and that doesn't make sense. One quick way that we can navigate this situation is in our admin area where we have a lot of important information that we manage. We can have another little area, and maybe we call this text. We call this text logic percentiles. Just going to make it bold and format it like everything else. And what this is going to be is it's going to be all of the percentiles that we could have and what we want to assign the ending of that percentile in text form. So let's start with 0.01, 0.02, and what we can do then is we can just drag these all the way down till we get to 100 or 1. There's 1. We can remove the rest. Now we should have every percentile from 1 to 100, or 0.01 to 1, which is 1 to 100. And now we can assign what we want the ending to be in text form for each of these. Let's go ST, because first, ND for second, RD for third, and then we can do TH for fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, all the way through 20th. And then what we can do is we have 21st, second, third, and then TH all the way through 30th, and that kind of happens for the entirety of or the rest of these percentiles. So we can copy ST all the way through TH for first through 10th. So we have first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. And we can copy this for the 20s. So 21st, second, third, fourth to 30th, 31st, second, third, fourth. And we can kind of just go down 41st, 51st, 61st, 71st, 81st, and 91st. And let's just format this the same way that we have with the others, where we'll go to Format, Alternating Colors, and I don't need a header because mine is already formatted. And we'll start at L2. You don't have to do this, it's just me being weird about formatting. And now we have the data that we need. So we can associate ND with 62nd, or the number 0.62 as a percentile. How we integrate this is, let's go to our chart data, and we just have to make a few, or actually really one replacement, and just apply it holistically. Now, in this text logic, we have TH hard-coded. All we're going to do is we're going to change this hard coding to a formula. So what we can do is we can remove the TH, and we still have percentile, and we'll do another ampersand and put something in between them. And this formula is going to generate that ST, ND, RD, or TH that goes before percentile. So actually we probably don't need the space there. And what we will need is index and match. So we'll go index, open parenthesis. What do we want to be here? Well, what we want is that ST, ND, RD, or TH. So we can go to our admin area and select column M to M, comma. And how are we going to know which row to get the abbreviation from? Well, we're going to match, open parenthesis. We're going to match whatever percentile we have. So let's go to back to our chart data. Match whatever this is here, whatever percentile this is, which is the percentile for the biggest strength, or for the text for this variable, comma, and we're going to match that to, go to our admin, all the percentiles in here, or column L, comma 0, close the parentheses, and we have to do one more thing, but for now, I just want to lock some things in with $signs, so we'll lock these things. We don't need the 37, but we'll lock in the S, and we'll lock in the L's, and click Enter for now. And we'll get an error. That's okay. The reason why we have an error is because we are trying to match 0.968 to something here that it doesn't have 3 decimals after it. They only have 2. So what we need to do is in this match formula, we need to round this number to 2 decimals. And how we can do that is right before we say S37 or where that percentile is, we can do round, which is a formula, open parenthesis, and what round needs is a value, which is S37, and the number of decimal places. And the number of decimal places is going to be 2, so comma 2, close the parenthesis, and click enter. Now, all we have to do is I put the space before percentile so that there's a space between those digits or that abbreviation and percentile, and click enter. And now we see this looks the same as it did before with the 97th percentile. But if we copy this formula and we paste it down, remember it says 92nd 92 th percentile here. We paste the formula down. Now it'll say 92nd. But we don't want to paste the entire formula down because we already did all this hard work with our text logic. So I'm going to undo that. And in this formula, the one above it, we can copy this index match round big thing. Copy it. Go into the one beneath. Add an ampersand. We're just going to have to do the same thing a couple of times. Paste it in here. But now instead of looking at S37, we're going to be looking at S38. And instead of this TH percentile, we're just going to have blank percentile. And we click enter. Now we do see the ND at the end. And we're just going to do this 2 more times. So we're going to go into this one, our biggest weakness. And again, put an ampersand right here. Paste our formula. Instead of S37, we're going to be looking at S41. I'll go to 41. And we're going to remove that TH and click enter. And we'll do this. And now we do see the 23 RD, which is what it should be. And we can do that again. And the last one, again, we'll add an ampersand. And then in between, we'll paste our formula. Instead of S37, we're going to look at S42. And again, remove that TH and click enter. And that's it. Now I'm going to just explain briefly how the formula works. So what we're saying here is we are looking for, well, actually let's go through the whole thing just as a recap. We're looking for whatever is in A4, which is the person's name, and then in quotes, apostrophe S, biggest strength is, so that person's biggest strength is, and then we're looking for what's in T37, which is their number 1 strength. So this person's biggest strength is bench relative strength. And then we have a period. Then we say A4, which is the person's name. So that person, Mac Levine, is in the, and then we calculate the percentile, or we denote the percentile as a whole number instead of a decimal. So we're saying they are in the 97. And then we add an ampersand and we add the TH, RD, or ND. And to do that, what we're doing is we're looking for something in column M in our admin, which is right here, ST, ND, RD. And we're saying, okay, what is the decimal that we're looking for? And let's match it up with what that is. And we find the decimal right here. And we round it to 2 points. So this will round to 0.97. And we say, okay, let's look for 0.97 in this list of decimals. And we go all the way down and say, okay, 0.97, it matches up with TH, so that's what we're going to put there, and then we're going to say percentile. So that's how we get our text logic right for the percentiles. Adam here, back from the future. Sorry about this, everybody. I played around with this logic a little bit more, and I noticed that I made a couple of oversights. For example, let's pick an athlete. Miles Sternberg. Sometimes we'll get an error. I'm going to go over 2 pieces of logic to correct for the errors that I've seen. Let's go to our chart data. We're in our strengths and weaknesses area now. I know it looks a little bit different because I did some reformatting. So why are there errors here? And that's because this athlete only has one weakness, or in other words, one metric where they are below the 50th percentile. So how do we accommodate for this? One way, probably the simplest way, is to use an if-error statement. So if there's an error with what's going on here, what do we want Google Sheets to do? To start that process, we'll go to the front of our formula here, and we'll go if error, open parenthesis. So if there's an error with anything going on in here, which apparently there is, because there's no value, then what do we want Google Sheets to do? Comma. Well, in that case, let's use a different piece of text. Let's say that if there is nothing here, or if there's an error, then let's tell Google Sheets to say, this person doesn't have any other weaknesses. Now to do that, we can go select the athlete's name, like we've done prior, which is in cell A4. Now let's go back down here. So if there's an error, or this person doesn't have a second weakness, we'll say A4 and an ampersand, quote, space, has no other weaknesses for the event selected, period, and end quote. However, remember that this is the second sentence in a mini paragraph, so before the A4, we'll put an ampersand and a quote, space, quote before that ampersand to give a space for the next sentence to start. Now at the end of the formula, we can close the parenthesis, and let's just go over this. So what we're saying is we're saying this big thing of text that we created already, and if there's an error, which is right after this comma, then we want it to say that person has no other weaknesses for the event selected. And if we click enter, now it's back. And now we need to duplicate what we just said for the strengths too, because an athlete might only have one strength. For example, let's select a different athlete. Go to our testing dashboard. Let's pick one. I know this guy only has one strength because I'm from the future. We get another error. So if we go to our chart data, in the formula that we just wrote, we can copy everything after the comma, or the text that we have, go into the formula for the second strength, and do a comma, and paste, and close a parenthesis. The last thing that we have to do is write the if error at the front of the formula. So if error, open parenthesis, and that's it. However, instead of having it say, if the athlete doesn't have a second strength, that the athlete has no other weaknesses for the event selected, say the athlete has no other strengths for the event selected. And click enter. And now it's back again. The final adjustment that we have to make is for 0 values. I'm going to go to our testing dashboard. And first, let's check. Okay, it's back. Great. I'm going to pick someone that has a 0 value. Let's go to this guy. Here we have another error. Let's check out our chart data. They're in the 0th percentile for 10-meter sprint, which just means that they're the worst. I think that the issue is happening with this rounding that we do here. We're trying to round 0 to 2 decimals, but it doesn't have any decimals. So I think that that's where the issue is. And the way that we can solve for this is relatively simple. Let's click on the cell where there's an error. We can use an if statement. Say if the cell equals 0, then what do we want it to say? And if not, we can have it say what it's supposed to say, or what we just developed. So to start that, we'll go if, open parenthesis, and sometimes you got to do a space after if so it doesn't close, and then go back. So if S38 equals 0, comma, what do we want to do? Well, I actually want to say something very similar to what we've already said. I still want to say the athlete's name and their biggest weakness is whatever is in T38. So let's highlight all of this up until the quote after the period, space, quote. Copy that and just paste it next to the comma. And if we do a comma after that quote sign, we'll say, what we're saying is if S38 is 0, we want to say the athlete's name and their biggest weakness is whatever this is, which is 10-meter sprint. And if it's not 0, then we want to say whatever this is, which includes the percentile. And we can click enter. Now we don't have any issues. However, for me, I want to include something relating to where they stand within the team. So after this sentence, the period, space, quote, we're going to do an ampersand and say the athlete's name again. So $A, $4, or it could just be A4. Then a dollar, and then an ampersand again to segregate their cell reference from the text. A quote, space, and then say what we want to say. And for me, I'm going to say that person is the worst on the team for the event selected. And do a period, space, quote. And that's it. And click enter. Now we can see the second sentence added in. We say that person's biggest weakness is whatever this is, and they're the worst on the team for the event selected. And then we can go over their next weakness, assuming that they have one. Now if we want to add similar logic to this second one, well, the only case where that would happen is if this athlete has 2 zeros or is the worst at 2 different things. But in any case, we can still customize the logic again. So after this if error, we'll go if, open parenthesis, if this, S39, equals 0, comma, well, what do we want to do? Similar to what we just did, is we can copy the logic that we have right here. Another weakness for that person is whatever this is. We'll copy it, paste it after the comma, and then we can again add some custom text here. You do a space and say, okay, another weakness for them is that they are also the worst on the team. Say for space, and then after the quote sign, do an ampersand, select T39 again. We can put in dollar signs just because our other one is, and then do a ampersand, quote, period, quote, comma. So essentially what we're doing here is we're saying if S39 equals 0, then we want this free text saying another weakness for, then an ampersand and the athlete's name to another weakness for G-Kempo, then an ampersand to again segregate free text from the references is whatever's in cell T39, which is bench relative strength. And then again in quotes for free text we say they are also the worst on the team for whatever's in T39 again. And then we end it with a period. And now the last two small things we have to do are after the comma we have to add another quote to start the if false statement. So let's open this up. If S39 equals 0, then we do this, or if that's true, we do this. Another weakness for them is whatever's in T39, and they're the worst on the team. And then this comma says, okay, well, what if it's false? So if S39 is not equal to 0, we say all of this stuff, and then there's another comma, and that's what happens if there's an error. So to close off this if statement, we need to put a parenthesis right here. And that's it. We can click enter. Now, if we were to arbitrarily put a 0 in right here, we'll notice that it still works. However, because this match doesn't find a 0 for the bench relative strength, it's not here. But if we were to put something again, put something in there, it would fill in. Luckily, nobody has 2 zeros, or we'd have a lot of work to do. And that's all I got. Thank you, and sorry for the interruption. And that's it. So now what we should have, let's see if we can just, because we're at the end here of this portion, let me also make it so we can see the whole thing. I don't know if we'll even be able to get to that point. We have all this stuff, right? We should be able to pick a player. I'll pick someone else. I have no idea whose name is whose. And let's see what happens. So I'll pick Joe Limby. And now we have different strengths, different weaknesses, different percentiles. And we see we have the 23rd percentile, but that'll happen because of what we did. And everything should kind of change around, right? So we can pick a different player. Things should flip around, get some different data. We can always compare, make our comparisons a little bit different, compare to position, right? Compare to the athletes all the time. We can choose a different camp or a different session. We've gone through all this stuff. And all this stuff will comply. So we have a really dynamic framework here now. And I hope that you enjoyed this series because I'm done with it for now. I really appreciate you taking the time and going through this. I think it'll be really helpful. I think it is really helpful to go through. In any case, if you're getting into sports science or if you're a coach looking to expand on your Google Sheets or Excel skills or just learn a little bit more about data, I think this is helpful. In the next series of videos, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a historical fitness testing thing beneath this. And if you didn't go through this or you didn't go through this whole thing and for some reason you're seeing this video, that's okay. All you're going to need is this player profile that we did at the beginning to get a historical fitness testing thing if you want one. So that's all I got. Again, thank you for watching. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate that. And yeah, I'm excited to see you in the next series. Go get them. Good work.